Hey everybody, it's Ruby here today, and today I wanted to do a book review for The Sex Myth by Rachel Hills. It's a book that I requested on NetGalley, and so it should be out on August 5th, although I think that a couple of other countries have gotten it already. I think that's the one for America or Canada. The general point of this book as a nonfiction book was pretty much what I had already mentioned in my to be read video, which is to get a better look on sexual liberation and how we think that we're sexually liberal and anything goes, when in reality we tend to put value judgments on things that we don't consider to be liberal enough. So instead of creating value judgments on having immoral sex, we're creating value judgments on not having enough sex or hooking up, casual, not living your life. So it was a different sort of take on how we're viewing these sorts of things. This resonated with me because she did a fair amount of research on this topic. There were a couple of contemporary and famous names that I recognized that I had come across in my research in sociology and psychology, so that was pretty great. You don't see that very often in books. And the sort of main premise of this book, as well as I think more specifically in a couple of chapters, was also brought up in my psychology of sex class, which is how do you treat something as pathological when you're not quite sure what pathological means? So are you putting a value judgment on something for how long someone lasts in bed or how infrequently they have sex, or are you actually deeming this as pathological? So that's all sort of stuff to keep in mind. I think this book is a great introduction to this sort of topic on sexuality and sexual liberation. It delves into media, health, and pressure from peers about what we should or shouldn't be doing. I ended up taking quite a lot from this book, actually, and reconsidering some of my own misconceptions about sexuality, which is hard to do considering that, you know, I've already reviewed like The History of Sexuality by Michelle Foucault on this channel, as well as Losing It, which was about virginity, which I did. I think that was one of the first NetGalley books I did. However, I was left wanting at the end. There's a pretentious side of me that found how the book was written sort of irritating. Rachel Hills obviously did a lot of research on the topic. She interviewed a lot of people. She interjected with her own sort of experiences to try and relate to the more theoretical side of things. However, by doing so, by trying to integrate theory into a book that also has anecdotes in it, as well as sort of her own journey through writing it, sort of cheapened what the book was really about. It sort of read as more of like a Vanity Fair sort of editorial than it did like a popular science or popular social studies or social science book about sexuality. I would probably give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Very average reaction out of this. I would recommend this book to anybody who would like an easy read or an introduction into the topic of sexuality or sexual liberation or sex positivity, but at the same time, it isn't maybe my number one for even books on the same sort of topic. There's a lot of other great books out there that can introduce you just as easily without having to spend, you know, sort of 200 pages on it. So that is everything. So like, subscribe, comment, do your thing, and I will talk to you guys later.